What's up, guys? Another day. Sorry, I had to change my mic there. Let's start that again. What's up, guys? Another episode of Rest Day, a glorious rest day. Actually, a pretty big storm here on the East Coast. But yeah, let's get into what happened this week. This was the week following the Backyard Ultra. Big shout out to Jacob, who joined us last week and gave some awesome insight to exactly what he was thinking winning that race. And I didn't really give a long recap of where I was coming from and what the race was like for me, but I did make a long form video here on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, we're streaming this every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll give a little bit of recap of that, not as detailed as the long form, but, give a little insight to what happened last week with me personally in the race, and then what this week of recovery has looked like and how that's going to feed into the next week. Run Free and Strong. What's up, man? Thank you so much for coming in. If you are in the chat, please leave any questions that you have. It's so much easier for me when people leave questions and give me something to talk about. So I welcome questions, and I'd actually love it if you have a couple or anything that's on your mind. We can get into it. As far as the race is concerned, I mentioned in reels and things, I made a lot of critical errors that in hindsight I'm pretty upset about, but we live and we learn, and I'll take things away from that Backyard Ultra. I mean, 51 miles or so isn't that, it's nothing to shake a stick at, but in the long form and the reel that I made about it, I think my first downfall was patience. I remember there was like a part, maybe like 6 miles in, where I was feeling really, really good, and I was running, and I was like passing people on single track, like no business doing that. And I remember a buddy just being like, "Brad, you're going too fast." And I was like, my heart rate's still down and I feel good. And I just, I wanted to get out of that slow pace and just run a little bit, and that lack of patience. And Jacob mentioned last week a documentary that Chad Wright made, and I got it on Prime Video. And one thing he criticized some people that got knocked out. He's like, they just weren't patient. And I wasn't patient. And it definitely came back to haunt me later on in the race. Simple as that. And also, too, in hindsight, the thing I'll take with me is, being present and knowing race day conditions. I was drinking water like it was going out of style. I was drinking water like it was 90 degrees out. And in like the fourth loop, I peed like 3 times in a 4-mile loop in 44 minutes. And I'm like, damn it. I drank too much, and I lost electrolytes that way. Even though I was drinking electrolytes in my water bottles and stuff, I was peeing out all my nutrition. So that definitely caused the quads to seize up. And if you've ever had any knee pain or ankle pain running, you know that a lot of the times that pain is up the river or down the river, as we like to say. And with that quad, my right quad was just seizing up, and I lead on my downhills with my right quad. So that eccentric movement downhill definitely blows up my quads quicker on the downhills and things like that. So once my quad went, I started to feel it in my knees. And as somebody with flat feet and somebody that has really, really poor like internal rotation from my like hip and femur on the right side, I just knew it's somewhere I've been before. And I know when I get fatigued that my knees start to hurt when my quads weaken. So it's definitely something I can strengthen in there, and something I've been talking with the coach a lot about. And I've been doing a lot more strength work. Even in the 4 weeks I've been working with him, he'll program in wall sits from time to time. And the first week I did it, he told me to do 5 minutes total wall sit. And I was doing like, I think I mentioned it even on a previous episode, I was doing 5 minutes of wall sets in like 6 or 7 sets, but now I can pretty much do 2 minutes, 1 minute on the wall sits to get to 5 minutes. So I'm definitely feeling some strength and confidence in my quads, which hopefully will eliminate some of that knee pain that I brought through the week. But we'll talk more about the training from this week and when I'm done here talking about the race. And I think the last one was the mental like aspect of the race. I've been broken in the night many times, and I just refuse to face that weakness. And I refuse to look myself in the mirror and have that tough conversation with myself and say, you are mentally weak when it comes to the night. I was physically ready to go 100 miles. And that's what I said. I wasn't talking out my ass. I wasn't talking shit. That's really what I thought I could go. But um, being newer to the sport and not really going above 50 miles and definitely not going into the night, I, yeah, I got beat up. I got beat up. And in the night loop, I just couldn't make it. And I can make excuses all I want, but you know, the legs hurt, but the legs didn't knock me out of the race. The sore knees didn't knock me out of the race. The mental aspect definitely knocked me out of the race. And that's something that I know now and I'm going to bring into the future. Run Free and Strong says, what specific training are you doing to handle the downhills at canyons for the 100 miles? Yeah, so that's definitely weighing heavy on my heart because canyons is a net downhill course. It's got 17,000 feet, which is still a ton of elevation, especially for a flat islander like me. But the downhills definitely has to be something that I'm thinking about. So I have access to a downhill treadmill, which is huge. It goes down to -4%, which isn't a ton, but it definitely is going to be there to help me. I also have a couple spots here on the island that do have a little bit of uphill, downhill that, like, frankly, I just never drove to. That I should have in Grindstone, but I didn't. I was lazy and cocky, I guess, but definitely be hitting more of those and also just doing more general strength work and not even like full depth squats and things, more single leg things. I don't remember who I saw like talking about this, but like running is a single leg exercise. So a lot more stuff that I'm doing now is single leg stepping. And then also to like on that downhill, I'm not a physio. So I think that's like when you concentric and eccentric movements, like standing on a step and then like, instead of doing like a heel raise, doing just like a little bit of a eccentric squat, a little bit like bringing the heel down to the step below, just to fire those quads and give like a little bit of tension on the way down and then standing up. So it's not like a full depth squat or even like a pistol squat with one leg. I'm not strong enough to do that, but just little things of activating those quads when I'm coming downhill. I remember the first time I really ran downhill when my ankle was sore and coming off the broken ankle. And I was almost like in a little quarter squat the whole day because I was just trying not to put any real pressure on the ankle. Dude, my quads blew up so fast because I was just always in a little bit of a squat the whole day. And when you take 100,000 steps in a day, you know, it's 100,000 little tiny squats and it blows up. So that's really what I'm looking for training. Definitely utilizing the downhill treadmill and just overall strengthening of the legs for Grindstone. And I definitely got way caught up in like losing weight and getting skinny and all of these things. And, you know, I personally just, I got more worried about my body composition and how much weight I was losing than being an efficient runner. And that definitely came back to haunt me. And I will in Grindstone, like I didn't break down physically so much, but I definitely could have been stronger. And I know that, yeah, I know that that's something I need to work on. Jacob's in the house. What's up, buddy? Welcome back. And yeah, field trips to Tammany. I don't know how you guys, is it Tammany? But we, there's a nice little place in Jersey that a lot of people, I think it's like 3 hours from me that people like to go. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be in the mountains and the hills are definitely going to be attacking that. I don't even want elevation to be an issue. And it really was in Grindstone. And I don't want it to be an issue this time. Oh, great question. Todd said, are you still fasting building up into canyons? Yeah, I mean, intermittent fasting is just like something that is just a part of I don't like think about that anymore. I've been intermittent fasting now for so long that I don't even think about it. And I was actually talking to one of my athletes about this yesterday because he is not a really big eater either before he goes and runs. And he's like, you know, Brad, what do we do when we get up into longer runs, 15, 16, 20 miles? Like, are we still intermittent fasting for that? And the answer is no. I don't like fast just to prove a point. And I don't fast because like, if you follow me on social media, I don't talk about intermittent fasting really at all. If anything, I show what I do eat when I do it, but mostly because nutrition is so like personalized. It's so what you think is best for you. And I don't want people to think that I'm intermittent fasting because I started running ultras, or I'm intermittent fasting because I think it's trendy or anything like that. Like, historically, even from when I was a kid, I like never was into breakfast. I suffer from anxiety and like had IBS as a kid. Just like early morning anxiety always led me to an upset stomach, which led to me never really eating that much breakfast to begin with. And like, everyone's like, how the hell were you 240 pounds and you weren't really eating? I was drinking 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day, frankly. And when I cut that drinking out of my life, which is coming up on a year this week, I just started losing weight in an uncontrollable way. And I knew that I needed to like start replacing calories, and I just haven't found a way to do that in the morning yet. So I think as far as my nutrition plans, like that, I guess that's a long-winded way of saying that my nutrition hasn't changed. But what I said to my athlete was, what we need to do is we need to do what works best for us, but we need to be prepared to eat when we have to eat. Meaning that like when I go out on a 15-mile run, or when I go out on a 20-mile run, or when I did this backyard ultra last week, I had a full breakfast. Like, I put in almost 600 calories in the morning, and it didn't mess with my stomach because I've trained my body and I know what specific foods. I talked about this on the Push Through podcast with JJ. I know what foods I can crush in the morning in high quantities, and it's not going to mess with my stomach. And if you're going to run long and you're an intermittent, like, you need those calories. And I think when you get to the point where, you're going to be in a deficit no matter what, you're just putting yourself into trouble that you don't necessarily need to be in. So I personally am going to continue to intermittent fast, but I'm pretty much saying that anything for me right now, anything under 90 minutes, I can pretty much handle. I can do I can do like maybe an hour and 45 to 2 hours with a gel. Like, if I get like a speed nut with 250 calories, I can hit that at like maybe an hour and 15 minutes and know that that will get me through. But it's not like to prove any points. It's really just what works best for me. My body operates best on a low fasted stomach in the morning. And yeah, I mean, even my students are like, how do you do that? Or one of my students, I was eating at 10 o'clock, I think last Thursday or something like that. And they're like, Finn, I never seen you eat in the morning. And sometimes I do. It's not like I don't get to 10 o'clock and I'm hungry and I'm like, my non-eating window is till 1 p.m. Now, if I'm hungry I always have something to eat. If I'm hungry at 10 a.m., I'm going to eat. I'm not depriving my body. And some days, especially if you've tapered, like during taper, I get just really, really hungry, or recovery weeks like we just had. I just find an appetite that I've never, ever had before, which is great around the holidays because I am just eviscerating food right now, which is really, really awesome. So that was pretty much the race. And yeah, the Appalachian Trail. Yeah, somebody left a comment. I'm in Connecticut and run the Appalachian Trail. It's humbling every time. Yeah, I'm still going to be humbled every single time I run. And I'm trying to buy a house in Vermont. It's like a getaway. And I know that if I can get that, that'll give me some awesome, awesome training. And from where I'm from, we used to head up to Bear Mountain a lot, but Bear Mountain got washed away. Not the mountain, but like the trails and stuff. We had a huge storm last July, which just crushed the Northeast. And Bear Mountain hasn't opened back up again to cars. So that's a really, really huge bummer. And I'm really looking forward to that opening up again. So now, what did training look like this week? So this week would have been 19 weeks out from Canyons. We're officially 18 weeks this week. And I know that because it's the 18th today, which is 18 weeks, just by coincidence. So I'm going to show you actually, let me bring up the screen so you can actually see my training peaks. I want to show you as much as I can. Once again, out of respect to my coach, I'm not going to go into deep dive details about like what exactly I'm doing in those workouts, but I can definitely show you like the volume and stuff that I had. If you're on a small screen, I apologize. I'll be reading this as well, but you can kind of see this is what last week looked like. Monday, so the race was on Saturday into Sunday, and Sunday I was really, really sore. I didn't really feel good. I was borderline like, did I injure this thing? I tripped on a root and like kind of caught myself weird, and it felt like a tweak, but like as an athlete, like I've heard ACL, MCL tears. I've heard knees pop before, not on my own, but I've heard them. And there was none of that. It was more just like, this is weird. And like I said, now in hindsight, I know that it was more of my quads going and just pulling and starting to, pulling some of those tendons and those ligaments around the knees. Cause as of today, I feel great. And we'll get to what this week looks like. But just a 30-minute active recovery, a nice little walk on Monday, low stress, 1.5 miles, 30 minutes. It was great. And then, as you can see, every single day I have a foam rolling and stretch kind of routine. I kind of do flow state yoga for like 10 minutes. I have the Peloton app. So the Peloton app, I get in there and I'll just do like a flow state yoga for runners. And by flow state, there's not a lot of pausing. There's not a lot of holding. I'm not a big fan of static stretching. So it just keeps me moving through a large range of motion, which keeps me as flexible as possible. Because I do want to be flexible, but I don't really like to static stretch. On Tuesday, I tried to hop on the bike and I rode for 25 minutes or so. The knee just wasn't feeling right. And actually, with the low impact of the bike, and I know this from being a bike rider before I started ever running, I know that the low impact, it seems like it's better, like coming off recovery, which is definitely great for muscles, but the bike has a much broader range of motion. So it brings in the knee and the ankle and the hip through a much bigger range of motion. So if you are a little sore, you have a little overuse or a little bit of tendonitis, for me, getting on the bike actually hurts more than like walking, because I'm driving the knee and the hip through such a huge circle and such a huge range of motion. So I did 25 minutes on the bike and I was like, this just doesn't feel right. I don't like it. So I got off the bike. I had 45 minutes planned. That's why it's in yellow. I had 45 minutes planned. I got back, and then I finished it off. I wanted to get my 45 minutes. So I did that as a walk. And then like a mini mobility, as I was saying, some wall sits, a lot of lateral band walks. I want to really, really fire up those glutes. I really need to strengthen the glute muscles and my core and just like my my hip flexors and things like that. So I'm doing a lot of banded work, a lot of glute bridges, things like that in my daily stretch. Wednesday was feeling much better. Got back onto the bike and was able to get 45 minutes and 8 miles. I got outside, rode in the trails, was very, very nice. Got out at dark, rode in the trails at night. Once again, I'm going to be getting out in the nighttime really as much as possible moving forward. I did Thursday was a cross train with an option for a run. So I did get out and run 45 minutes. Nice, easy pace. You can see a stress score of only like 33 there. And I got out for 4.35 miles. Once again, more banded work, wall sits, things like that, and some stretching. And then pretty much from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I just hit 4 miles every day. I had an optional cross train with a run on Saturday. Again, I was able to hit that, got 4.3 miles. So just a lot of like light pace work. Like if I even click on this easy run from Friday, if we look and see what the pace was, where is average pace, distance, calories, law? Oh, this was 4.26 miles in 10. Yeah. So a really, really nice 112 heart rate, like nice and easy, nothing crazy. Heart rates all the here. So we can see all of that heart rate was right in the fat burning 108 to 116. So just a very, very nice, easy week. And luckily for me, guys, with my aerobic base and with the MAF training that I've been doing, I am able to go out and run at a 10-minute pace and keep my heart rate like below 116. We can see this workout 4.5 miles in 41 minutes. That's right at 10-minute pace, and barely got the heart rate even over 117. Almost less than 2 minutes of that was over 117. So this just goes to like when I need to recover and rest, I really can recover and rest. It's really, really nice having that aerobic fitness. I did some strength. I also did some strength on Saturday, pull-ups, push-ups, stayed away from squats, stayed away from the wall sits I did the other day. They started to aggravate that knee a little bit. So I got out of that. And it was just a really, really nice week. For anybody that's on Training Peaks to know, it's stress score a little under 200, 193. I biked 13 miles and I ran almost 16. What was the 16.7 I ran? Very, very happy with that. And my CTL 52 fatigue score coming out like right exactly where I need to be coming out of a recovery week, which is like very, very, that makes me very happy. So, any questions about last week, please leave them in the chat, guys, and I'll definitely get into those and we'll take a look at what I got moving on. Week 18. I guess I don't know how to word it. Like, do I say this is my 4th week of training, or do I say I have 18 weeks left? You guys have to tell me what's easier to understand. But today was more foam rolling and stretching as I do every day, and a lot of recovery. It's a great night too. My kids don't have activities on Monday, so it just all lines up nice. I took them to like some light show and some like down at the beach. We have like they lined the whole parkway up with these light shows, and so we went and did that. It was just a nice, easy night and got them into bed. Tomorrow I have some aerobic ceiling work, so pretty much I have my aerobic ceiling, which is a math heart rate. So 180 minus my age. So I'm working like right at 141 or so, 140 to 141. Actually, should be 139. I'm going to be 42 soon. Holy cow. But that's going to be 5 miles. The goal for this week is to run 35 miles and run 35 miles nice and strong. Tuesday is going to be an aerobic ceiling and strength work. Wednesday is going to be an easy run. So what's the difference between my aerobic ceiling runs and my easy runs? So my aerobic ceiling, let's call it 138, 139, 140 in that range. I'm going to want to try and pin it right there. So for me, pinning right at 138, right at the high end of my aerobic zone is somewhere like 830 pace, maybe like 815, 830 pace, where a quote easy run, I'm going to try and go 10 beats below math. So I'm going to run at 130, and that's going to be about 930 pace, maybe like 945. So a minute different, like a little bit less than 10 minutes for the easy runs. So no speed work, no tempo work this week, no threshold work, but I will be pushing that upper zone 2. Trying not to leave zone 2, especially coming off the race and still not feeling 100%, but still trying to, now I'm going to try and ramp that intensity back up. So Tuesday and Friday, 5 miles right at the aerobic ceiling. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday, I'm just going to run 5 miles easy. And my long run for the week is going to be on Saturday, which is going to be 10 miles. So I got 5, 5, 5, 5, 10, 5, which will get me to the 35 I want. I'm doing strength on Tuesday. I'm doing strength on Friday, and I'm doing strength on Sunday this week. Actually, Friday is just core and ab work. Sunday will be like barbells and moving, push-ups, sit-ups, like that. And then Tuesday is going to be more of like a calisthenic type of movement. It's probably going to be like 15 minutes of box jumps and calf raises and burpees and things like that. Just I'll break a sweat in that 15 minutes, come off that high aerobic ceiling, and then push anaerobic inside that Tabata type workout. And if you don't know what a Tabata is, it's just a fancy word for like a high intensity short segment and then an even shorter rest. Some people will do like 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. I like to tend to do 45 seconds on and then 15 seconds off. That's kind of the Tabata that I'm going to go for. So we're going to raise the stress score up a little bit. The planned stress score is roughly 244 with all the strength and things like that. I'll probably be a little bit higher because I'm looking back. 193 was a stress score. Yeah, if I can get that up to like 250, raise it by like 50 or so points, I'll be in a really, really, really good place. Do you plan on doing another backyard ultra in the future? Yeah, I love them. I love them for a lot of different reasons. I love them because I've done 2 now. It's almost impossible not to make a lifelong friend because you're going back to the same spot and you're doing it. It's just, I love it. It doesn't get monotonous to me really when I'm on the trails. The road definitely sucked, but you know, every loop was different. Where the sun was, the temperature, the people I was running with, everything was different. I loved it. I loved how it forced you to eat different things. I like the low intensity, which allows you to go further, which for most people might put you in a position where you can, you know, get PR miles or something like that. And, you know, it's pretty like not low pressure, but the one downside, I guess, of the pressure, and I was talking with my buddy JJ about this, is like it's hard to leave there not disappointed unless you win. But if you take a couple of days and you get over it and you look at it more holistically and you zoom out a little bit, like in the moment, like, unless you're getting PR miles, like everyone wants to go there and get PR miles, right? Not everyone goes and knows they're going to win, but everyone at least wants to try and go and get PR miles. So if you don't, or something goes wrong, it's very easy to leave there upset. But that's also good for your mental, because you start to learn really, really quick in this ultra game that it takes a lot to have a really, really good day. And it takes a lot of luck. Everything from nutrition to temperature to weather to rolling ankles to you name it. And I kind of like that. It's taken a little bit of pressure off because I've learned to really focus on the things I can control. But I left that race really upset. I really did. But now I'm okay with it. And the big difference, like in Grindstone, I went in, like I made that reel and it was like, this was all about the journey. I don't care how I do. And then I didn't finish. Well, I finished, but not in the time. And I was not mad. I was not mad. Even though I didn't get an official finish at Grindstone, I finished the race. I got there. I wasn't mad because it was all about the journey. This one, I was mad. I was upset. More because I knew I had more physically. And at the time, in hindsight, I couldn't figure out like where I went wrong. So it took me a couple of days to like find those P's that I figured out with the patients and things like that. It took me a couple of days, and now I've moved past it. But yeah, I don't know where I'm going to fit one in, because now I'm getting to the point where if I do one, I'm going to be going 50 miles and it's going to be hurting me a little bit and I'm going to need some time to recover. I got this marathon coming up on February 4th. So I think that's really my next priority. I'm not going to taper into that race. I'm pacing JJ for it. And not to say that like we're going to go so slow, it's not going to affect me physically. It's definitely going to get me, but like it's going to be a long training day for me. So I can't do one between now and then. I thought about going out to Phoenix and doing a race across the years, but even like going out and doing like an 8-hour effort or anything like that, it's going to bang me up a little bit. So I'm going to build some mileage, try and get up maybe 55, 60 mile weeks for the marathon, come off of that. And then I have rim to rim on March 28th. So I'm not going to do a backyard ultra and jeopardize that rim to rim. And then after rim to rim, that's my last big push. That's probably going to be one of my peak weeks going into Canyons. So after Canyons, which is in April, I'll have May kind of kick it. The backyard ultra that I did last year was in mid-June. They haven't announced if they're going to go again. Last year they announced it on February 1st. So it's not like they're behind, but I would love to go up there and do that. That was Father's Day weekend, pretty close to my house. So that currently right now is definitely on the calendar for a backyard ultra. If I don't go out to Bighorn and pace a couple people up there, there's some people that have shown interest in me pacing at the 100-miler at Bighorn. So I might go out to Wyoming and do that. So it's either going to be a backyard ultra or it's going to be the backyard ultra or Bighorn. And then I'm going out on July. I'm going to Montana for Crazy Mountain Ultras. And the week before, that's on the 27th. And the week before that, I'm pacing the Vermont 100. So the calendar's full. So I want to do one. I'm not opposed to backyards. I just don't know where they're going to fit in. I think Father's Day, upstate New York is called Mountain Lakes Backyard Ultra. If you want to look it up, you can look it up. But that's I plan on being back there again soon. How is it mentally lining up at the starting line over and over again? In the beginning, it's great. And then you really start to like, I don't know, I'm competitive. So like, I definitely was looking around like, hey, is that the guy or who's going to win it? And Jacob's still here. I don't think anybody, including me, he was so humble. Like, no, he kind of came out of nowhere, I guess. We know now after listening to him speak last week, he knew that he was invincible, but yeah, it was cool. I like getting back to the line each time. I really do. And I like seeing how people are breaking down. I like seeing people's highs and lows. You get people that are super talkative 1 hour and the next hour, they're just not right, but then they bounce back the hour after that. Yeah, it's been really, really nice getting back to the line. I saw Steven Trail's 100-miler and it was 13 loops, mentally tough. So I can imagine backyards. Yeah. I feel like it's It's just long enough where it's new and you're going to get back to camp fast enough where, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I really looked into Rocky Raccoon, and even I want to do a Javelin 100. So that's 5 20-mile loops. I feel like those 5 20-mile loops on me is going to be harder than doing a backyard. Like in a backyard, when you're suffering, you're like, I'm going to be back in my chair in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but when you get back on a 5 20-mile loop 100 and it's lap 3 and you're like, I'm sitting in this chair and I'm back at base camp and I still have 40 more miles to go of the same trail. I don't know. I've never done it, but um, I would like to think that that's harder, but I'd also like to think that if you're going to be getting to this point where you're doing races, and this is back to the mental side, like that shouldn't even be a factor. Like there should be way more things on your priority list than, oh my God, I got to do the same loop again, I guess, if that makes any sense. Rim to rim or rim to rim to rim. Right now we're planning rim to rim to rim. Doing it with a bunch of guys from the sober community, the recovery community, heading out there, and we're going to do, well, Bright Angel is closed right now, as well as the Tonto Trail for renovations. They're fixing the water lines and things like that. As of right now, South Kaibab and North Kaibab should be open. There haven't been any major snows yet. It's very early in the season. We know the North Rim gets pretty banged up. One thing people don't realize about the North Rim, it's at elevation. I think it's at like 10,000 feet. So it maybe even higher. I just know it's at elevation. So everyone thinks it's like the desert, like Arizona. No, it's up at elevation. And so all things considered, yeah, the goal is to try and go about 15 hours, maybe 16 hours, get that done, start early in the morning, head down South Kaibab, like get to the base as the sun is kind of coming up. And then, get that famous water lemonade, and then at Phantom Ranch, and then back to North Rim, back, and then fly back. We're doing it Easter Sunday, and there's a bunch of guys that are really religious, so I happen to be off for Holy Thursday, Good Friday, the 28th to 29th. I'm flying out Thursday. I'm landing in Vegas. They're picking me up in Vegas. We're going to drive the 4 hours, sleep in the parking lot, get up 3 a.m., bang it out, recover a little bit, and then I fly right back out Friday morning. So, Saturday morning. So it's going to be, I'll still try and get back and be home for Easter dinner. Yeah, Jacob is a silent assassin. Didn't know. The only thing I heard from Jacob all day was, "How you doing, man? Great job, man. I'm passing you sooner to this loop." And then there was no more passing because I was out. So that's kind of the week looking in 35. I do have the next 2 weeks planned, and we'll talk obviously more about that next week. And I'll probably, with Christmas, we'll see. Maybe we'll skip 2 weeks. I kind of like, even for my own selfish being, I like getting on here. So maybe we'll do it on Saturday or maybe on Tuesday or something like that. Just because I want to follow this journey as well. But going right back up 35 this week, 40 the following week with a long run. That's going to be 15 miles. The following week is definitely going to get back into tempos and farleeks and things like that. Push that stress score almost closer to 300. I will say, in case I don't get back in time for the end of the year, like, I just want to state for the record that I'm a big goal setter, but I like to set goals that are hard. And I also am okay with failing at goals. And I'll say here first, I'm not going to make my mileage goal for the year. And I was pretty banged up about that too, but I'm coming to peace with it. Last year I ran like 520 miles, and the most I'd ever run before that was like 310. And I've done 4 Ironmans. So I've done 4 Ironmans and never ran more than 300 miles in a year. So I did 500 last year with the mile streak, and just really figuring out like what I wanted to do with this sport. And then I set a goal. I don't remember what I read early in the year, but somebody was like, set a goal for that year. So I set a goal of 2023. And for a while I was on pace. Grindstone, I think Grindstone was the last time I was ahead of pace, but the recovery from Grindstone really hurt. And then I knew, like, coming into October, I needed like 7 miles a day or almost 50 miles a week. And I was like, oh, it's going to be tough. And going into the race last week, I was like 60 miles behind pace. And I was like, oh, if I can get 70 5 to 100 miles, I might be able to pull this off, but I didn't get there. But I am going to make, I'm just going to make, I might make 2,000. So with the mileage planned, if I can throw a couple more miles in there, I might get to 2,000 for the year. But if I get to 1,970, I just want to let anybody else know that didn't hit any like mileage goals or things like that. It's okay. It's totally okay. You know, I could have set a goal for 1,000 and crushed it. I would rather set a goal for 2,000 and miss, just because that's crazy. And it's even crazier to think that, maybe I'll get 3,000 next year. We'll see if I can, if things stay well and I could stay injury free and things like that. So, does anybody have any other questions about what we're going to be going on? I also have some guests lined up too. So if you've been here every week, everyone loved having Jacob on, and they like hearing that other side of the story. So you guys know that I like to slide in the DMs on Instagram, and I have a bunch of Instagram friends, and they're like, "Hey, let's get on and talk." And please also check out Push Through. So Push Through is the podcast I've had for a couple of years now, with my great buddy JJ Buckner, and still doing that on a regular basis too. He actually called me. I was like, "Hey, are you starting another podcast without me?" I'm like, I definitely want to document this, but Push Through is still my number one. It's still my favorite thing. It's the thing I focus on. This is more just a hobby because, yeah, I like to hear myself talk. I'm a school teacher. Jacob said that, asked, am I planning on training with trekking poles? Yeah, I'm going to be using poles. I think I read somewhere, like, I think anything over like 12,000 feet is like the hardcores will stop making fun of you. I've used them. I did a 60K upstate New York in Red Wing National Park, Red Wing State Park or County Park, and I had 6,000 feet. And I was one of the only people with poles, but so many people said, dude, I wish I brought my poles. There was a couple of people that were like, oh, I didn't bring my poles. I didn't want to be that guy. I have no problem being that guy. And as a skier, I know how great poles can be. And I love them. And like I said, I have no problem being that guy. I like them more even for downhills. It's like when you're running trail and like you go around a turn, you just like grab that little tree that's right there just for some stability. It's like having a tree every time you're planting downhill. And I've trained with them, I've trained without them. For me, placebo or not, it is a 9-day difference for me. So without question, like without question, I bring my poles out a lot. I always have them on my pack. Anytime I train with a pack, so that's really anything over 15 miles, I'll bring my pack out. My poles are always in my pack, even if I'm going to do my flat loop with only 183 feet for 20 miles. I'll still have them on me. I want them rattling around in the back. I want to know they're there. I practice taking them out, opening them on the jog, breaking them down on the jog, putting them back. I've tried different sides. I've tried all different things, but yeah, no question. No questions asked. I will have my poles. I will be that guy. I'll have a backup set of poles in case one of my poles breaks. I really think they're that beneficial. And with the net downhill that Canyon is going to throw at us, like I said, I want them more for the downhill than for the uphill, to be honest. Corey, what's up? Corey was going to come on tonight. I told him that with the holidays, I didn't want to ruin the momentum. So I want to have Corey on next, probably first in the new year. So thanks for showing up, man. Appreciate you. Just did his first 50 miler, and that's what we'll chat about. And then you just freaking did a bike ride, a mountain bike or 60-mile mountain bike ride. Kid is crazy. Crazy. Thank you for your service as well. I know you're a veteran too, buddy. All right. Got to go find a place for that elf. So I will get out of here unless there's any other questions. Broke a pole. Yeah, they break, man. Those poles break, especially if you have like a good set of poles. I have a video on this channel of the poles that I have, and they're a company out of the UK, not sponsored, Harrier. And I actually just bought a set of poles for my brother because, well, he's going to need them. They're adjustable, which I like because on the downhills, most of them are like fixed, especially like the carbon Z poles, they're fixed length. These ones, they have a 5 centimeter change and they change right by the handle. So like downhills, I like them a little bit longer. So like I'll pop them open, pull them to 125 for the downhills, and then I'll snap them back down to 120 for the uphill. So I really, really like that. But I think they're like 90 euro. They're like, they're nuts. Like, yeah, I want a set of leaky poles because they're really leaky poles because they're like fantastic. But for $90 for a set of carbon Z poles, like I'll break them. I have a backup set for that reason. So if you're in the market for poles, definitely on this YouTube channel, you can look, like type in like Brad Trains poles, or I don't have that many videos on here. You can go back and look. Yeah, I think they're like $90. They were the only poles I had when I first got them. But now I think they do have a fixed length pole and they have the adjustable. And then I think they have like a trekking one, which is more of like the telescoping ones that don't fold into 3 parts. They have a couple different options now. So, yeah, affordability. And I mean, I've used my buddy's Lecky poles and I don't see a difference. Actually, the cork handle is like a little different. Any chance you're doing the Ironman again? I'm going to do the Ironman again. Yes, I'm going to do the Ironman again, and I'm going to break 13 hours comfortably. And there's a part of me that wants to do one this year, but I just read off the resume for this year. I have a lot of stuff on the calendar. I might wait till I turn 45 and go up in age group. I got to see who's qualifying for Kona, like what age group, what times are qualifying for Kona. As guys get older, especially as we approach retirement, like there's like a gap where like you'd think that the 50 to 55 is slower than the 45 to 50. It's not. So I have to look at 40 to 44 and 45 to 49 and see. And if it's a slower time to qualify for Kona, I might like do it before then. But right now I have ultra on the brain. Until we know the dates of that Arizona Monster 300, I got to keep that on the resume. Jacob's going to get into Tahoe and Bigfoot, and I'm going to force him into letting me pace him. So a lot of stuff this year. And as I've mentioned with Ironman, as an Ironman, I'm not hating. It's easy. It's for what I've done and where I'm going at this point in my fitness. It's just not something that I feel like would challenge me enough to risk injury. And yeah, I've done 4 Ironmans. I've done 10 70.3s. It's just I'm just kind of past that phase, kind of like I don't really CrossFit anymore. I'm just past that phase of my life. But with that said, every Ironman I just did with general fitness. I've never trained for an Ironman. So it would be cool kind of now with the ultra seeing what I could do with running when I actually train. I wouldn't mind like putting together like a 12 to 16 week training block and like doing Lake Placid or something like that. Yes. Ironman is not off the table, but I don't think 2024, I don't think it's there yet. I did say it's kind of like a road marathon. I'll do Ironman if somebody wants to do their first one and they need a training partner. I'll gladly get in there and train Ironman. The Ironman has a special place in my heart, but I like the humility of ultras better. I almost wish that in Ironman I got knocked out or didn't make the time cut or really got beat up or I needed to really train my ass off really to get in. But the fact that I did it on general fitness and I wasn't fit just makes me think like, all right, do I want to push for a 200 miler or push for a 100 miler or do I want to go pace a friend? You know, I prefer all be told, like, I really just want to be a professional pacer. Like, I just want to help other people achieve their goals. At my age now, like, especially like the teacher in me, I love seeing fucking people win. Coming out of the personal finance space and seeing people get out of debt and seeing people like achieve financial independence and financial freedom, like that's really what blows my hair back. That's what winds my clock. So once I check off a couple of boxes that I'd like to check off, I really just want to go around and help people achieve what they want to achieve. That it seems cliche and it seems cheesy, but that's really when you really get to know me. And if you know me for a while, you know that I thrive on watching other people win. And like seeing Jacob win last week was just as exciting, maybe not just as exciting, but I was just as happy for him as I could have been for myself. And yeah, so that was a long way of saying, yeah, I'll do the Ironman again, but maybe not until I'm 45. All right. Is that going to be it? I don't know if I'll hop on here. If you're a celebrator of the Christmas, Merry Christmas. And hope it's wonderful for you. We're all blessed. We are all blessed. And there's a lot of people around that are not going to have a great holiday. They just can't, or they're mourning the loss of somebody. I've been a Scrooge my whole life. And luckily, my kids brought me out of being a Scrooge after losing my parents and not getting a Christmas tree for years. And I never thought I'd bounce back. And luckily, my kids have, brought that Christmas spirit back into me. And I think that's important. I think even as an adult, it's good to have some Christmas spirit. I think even as an adult, it's nice to, just feel joyful, sing Christmas songs in the bath, in the shower. And I think that's been really good for my mental health. It sucks running at 4 o'clock in the morning, but running at 4 o'clock in the morning, Christmas lights doesn't suck too bad. So I'll definitely get back on here and talk to you again before the new year, and slide into the DMs, say what's up. And thank you guys so much for being here. I really do appreciate, and some might say there's only 7 people there. How pumped can you be? I'm not talking to myself. So thank you. I truly, truly do appreciate you. And I just passed a year on Instagram, and I have made lifelong friends this year on Instagram. I have 1,300 followers, but I've made some lifelong friends, and a lot of 2024 is going to be connecting with those people in real life. And I can't wait. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I really am. So I'll end on that note, and I'll see you guys over on Instagram. Take it easy, guys.